The doorway to the transcendental argument for God. The world everyone knows. Every day, without giving it much thought, we make judgments. We distinguish truth from lies. We recognize contradictions. We weigh evidence. We expect words to mean something, and we expect the people around us to make sense when they speak. None of that feels unusual. It feels so natural that most of us have never stopped to consider something truly fascinating. Why should any of it make sense? I'm not talking about how we reason. I'm talking about something much deeper. Why is reasoning itself even possible? What makes this so interesting is that it touches countless conversations you've had, countless decisions you've made, and the beliefs you've defended. And perhaps the greatest irony is this. The world everyone knows is a world almost nobody has stopped to explain. The question beneath every question. We live in an age overflowing with information. Each day we're surrounded by people appealing to facts, science, evidence, reason, and truth. Yet the louder those voices become, the harder it seems for people to agree about reality itself. Our instinct is to decide who's right. The thought hasn't occurred to most of us to question the foundation beneath our own thinking. Until now. A transcendental argument begins there. It goes beneath the debate itself by asking, what kind of world must exist before words like truth, logic, knowledge, and evidence can have any meaning at all? Whether you've ever heard the phrase transcendental argument before or not, you've been living as though those things are real throughout your life. Whenever you've said, that's true, that doesn't make sense, that's not fair, or show me the evidence, you've been relying on realities your own worldview must be able to explain. And here's the fascinating part. You now know something that billions of people have never even considered. And once you've seen it, it's remarkably difficult to stop seeing it. An unexpected discovery. Let's go a little further. Imagine someone confidently saying, there is no such thing as truth. Almost immediately, we recognize the problem. Why? Because the moment that person says those words, he expects you to believe they're true. The statement quietly defeats itself. Once you begin looking for moments like that, you start seeing them everywhere. We borrow assumptions without realizing we've borrowed them. We appeal to standards we've never accounted for. We depend upon foundations we've never examined. If you've begun noticing that pattern, you're beginning to see exactly what fascinated philosopher Dr. Greg L. Bahnsen. He believed every worldview eventually reveals what it truly depends upon, not merely by what it says, but by what it must presuppose whenever it reasons. Why this matters. Imagine discovering that thousands of young men were persuaded to support a war, not because they carefully examined the truth, but because they were shaped by carefully crafted propaganda. Something inside you immediately reacts. You don't simply say, well, that was unfortunate. You say, that was wrong. You feel it was genuinely actually wrong. And I think you probably noticed what just happened. A question about war quietly became a question about truth. And a question about truth became a question about reality itself. Why? Because if truth is only personal preference, if morality is nothing more than society's opinion, if human beings are merely the products of blind, impersonal forces, then what makes propaganda genuinely wrong? Not just ineffective, not just unpopular. Wrong. But the question doesn't stay in the realm of politics. It confronts us in our courtrooms, our classrooms, our families, and the human heart itself. Dr. Bahnsen spent his life showing that these aren't isolated observations. They're windows into something much deeper. Every worldview asks us to think. The real test is whether it can explain what thinking itself requires. The invitation. What you've heard today isn't the transcendental argument for God. It's the doorway to it. If these ideas have unsettled assumptions you didn't even realize you were making, if perhaps, for the first time, you've begun wondering about the foundation beneath your own thinking, then you've already taken the first step into one of the most remarkable conversations in Christian apologetics. The accompanying article explores these ideas much further. Dr. Greg Bahnsen's complete lecture series develops them in depth. Read it to discover whether the things you've trusted your entire life, truth, logic, morality, knowledge, and reason, can actually be explained by the worldview you hold. This is the Bahnsen Bible Academy. Preserved teaching for serious study.